Hello everyone and welcome to another tier list. I haven't done a tier list in a while, but I felt that since Gravity Falls' 10th anniversary just happened, I felt like I needed to do this one. Gravity Falls is one of my favorite shows of all time. It was one of the few shows that as like a kid that when it was on like at home after school, you would stop everything and just watch Gravity Falls. Like, I wouldn't do homework until Gravity Falls was done. I loved the show. I still love the show, even to this day. It's just so good, isn't it? It's just so good. And upon doing this, I now realize that this episode is not in the right place. And I have to go and put it in the right place. Thank you. That's bugging me. But yeah, we're going to rank every episode of Gravity Falls that the show did in its short 2 seasons. Oh man, would have loved a third, but well. The best part about Gravity Falls, I think, is that we as fans are kind of making up our own stuff of what happens after the show. You know, I think that's like really cool on a show. Like, we don't know what like it definitively happens to the characters after the show ends. We know some, right? Like, obviously Stan and Ford go investigate supernatural stuff in the ocean. Soos runs the mystery shack. Obviously Dipper and Mabel go back home, but I mean, like, we don't know the specifics of what happens, right? So it's real nice when people get to make their own conclusions at times, but it's also nice getting confirmation. So as you can see, we go from S rank all the way to F rank. Here we go. We're not going to see a lot of F rank. So the very first episode of Gravity Falls, I would put that in either A or B. We'll say A because it started it all. Very simple plot. Introduces you to Dipper, Mabel, Wendy, Sue, Stan, and all that. It does what it needs to do. It hooks you in, and then we're like, okay, here's what we got next. Legend of the Gobblewonker. I'd say B. It's not as good as the first episode. Like, I rewatched the first episode more than this one, but it's not a bad episode, so I put it in B. Headhunters. This is actually one of my favorite episodes of the whole show. I'm tempted to put it in S, but I know it's not that good. We'll say A tier. We will say A tier. I love this episode with the wax dummies, and this episode gets a lot more added on to it after you rewatch and you know why Stan is sad that his wax dummy is killed. The hand that rocks the Mabel. I guess there. Introduces Gideon. Gideon. And, yeah, we get the amulet. Little amulet dude over there. We get the realization that someone else has to journal in Gravity Falls. The inconveniencing is one that I would put there. Again, I rewatched all 3 of these episodes before I'd watch the inconveniencing. But it is nice. It expands on Wendy, introduces her gang of friends who do become some quite fun characters. And of course, it has the Lammy dance. How could you not like the Lammy dance? Dipper versus Manulus, I think, is one I can put in C tier. Not a huge fan of this episode. I rarely rewatch it. I only rewatch it if I'm doing like a whole show binge. I'm not a fan of it. I'm really not a fan of this episode, but it's not the worst episode of the show. There is one episode of the show that I think we can all universally agree on is just plain not good. Because Dipper vs. Manlius, it's not bad. It's just kind of, it's okay. Like, this is God tier. This is just great episodes. These are fine, good episodes. These are episodes where it's kind of like, D is episodes that are kind of like, they're but they're on the lower spectrum. And then E is just, and then F is awful, right? Double Dipper is one we can easily put up there. Love Double Dipper. Double Dipper is a great episode. Introduces Pacifica as well. She's introduced in this one, so this is also actually a pretty important episode. And, you know, we expand on the Dipper-Robbie rivalry. Dipper trying to get Wendy to like him and all that. Irrational Treasure, one I will put there. Continues the Pacifica stuff. With this, of course, has Quentin Tremblay. Who doesn't love Quentin Tremblay? Him and his backwards horse. The Time Traveler's Pig. Put that up there. Put that up there, man. Really love the Time Traveler's Pig. Introduces Benjamin Blandon, who now all I hear is just Morty. Yeah. Of course, we have Waddles is also introduced in this episode too. How could you forget Waddles? Fight Fighters is one I would actually put there. Again, I'm not a huge fan of this episode. But it's not, again, a bad episode. It does have its moments, you know. Your pixels are very sharp. Is this also the... I can't remember if it's this episode or this episode. It might be this episode where Stan says, the reason I own a gun is in case some maniac shows up with a ladder. I think it's this episode. We have that one, which is Little Dipper. Goes right there. Little Dipper's a nice, fine episode as well. The second Gideon episode as well. Summerween. We can put Summerween up there. I really like Summerween. The Summerween Trickster is quite terrifying. I found so on the first time I watched this. I was like, oh my god. Yeah, Summerween Trickster, man. He ate a kid. And then, of course, how could you not have put this up there with the great line from Suisse at the end, I ate a man alive tonight. Boss Mabel can go right there. Again, not as good as these episodes. I don't rewatch it as much as, like, say, Inconveniencing. But it's there. Bottomless Pit, we can put Bottomless Pit just right there. It's the first anthology episode of the show, which is nice. Not a lot. I like it when episodic and serialized shows can sometimes just go in an anthology. It's really nice. And of course, Bottomless Pit does become important later on. The Deep End. I think that can go there as well. I'm not a huge fan of The Deep End. This is just, again, personal. I'm not a huge fan of The Deep End. It didn't do it for me, really. Carpe Diem can go there. This is another really... With the benefit of hindsight now after rewatching the show, Carpe Diem definitely is elevated. I probably would have put it there in B tier, but it definitely gets elevated to A tier upon rewatch. Of course, it's funny. They switch bodies. Boys Crazy. Put that there. I'm actually there more for the Dipper plot than anything with the Robbie tape. That's what I'm there for. The B plot of the episode is the best plot of the episode because the plot with Mabel and several times, I just did not like that. But because I really like the Dipper plot in this episode, I'll put it in C tier and not put it in D tier. Land Before Swine is also one that can go there. Again, not one I really watch too much. But we can easily just put the two-parter Dreamscapers and Gideon Rises in S tier. This two-parter is fantastic. I rewatched this two-parter a lot because it's so good. Gravity Falls went crazy here because before, you know, we had some pretty good episodes of Gravity Falls. Nothing really too intense, but then we had these two-parters, and this was when the show was like, okay, now we're gonna start to go crazy. Karaoke. Easy. Where are you going, buddy? Easy, put that there. Easy. Easy. Karaoke is really fun. Into the Bunker is also a really fun episode. This kind of sort of ends Dipper's crush on Wendy. Not really, but kind of. Ends his major pursuing of it, at least. Which I was thankful for. Because even as a kid, I didn't really like that. Gulf War is one that can go there as well. Gulf War is just great. Really love Gulf War. I think this is also the episode that first has Nathan Fillion voice Preston, and that is just great. Sock Opera. I'm putting it in S tier because you know why it's in S tier. It's because of this little boy right here and all the stuff he spawned. What this guy spawned. Forever ruining the fandom. Seuss and the Real Girl, the Five Nights at Freddy's parody is great. I think it's pronounced Jiffany. I never really understood. This is Little Gift Shop to Horrors, another anthology. I actually prefer, I'll put that one there, because I prefer Bottomless Pit stories than the Little Gift Shop ones. Society of the Blind Eye is one I do believe belongs in S tier. I really love this episode. Like, really, because now we're getting to the stuff where it's like, oh my god, knew the author. Oh my god, there's a secret society going on. Like, this was really good. Blendin's Game can go there. This is one I rewatch quite a bit. Blendin's Game. I rewatched this one quite a bit. I'd say the episodes I rewatch quite a lot are this two-parter, these two, Blendin's Game, and some episodes that we are going to get to. Love God is there, we'll say. Yeah, I think that's where it belongs, B tier. I'm not a huge fan of Love God, but it's not, again, not the worst episode. Northwest Mansion Mysteries is one I rewatch quite a lot. Put that in S tier. I think we all know why Northwest Mansion Mystery belongs in S tier. And I think we all know, I think we know, right? This little picture there is very important. And Alex, I'd love some confirmation on that, buddy. That'd be great. I think this is what should happen in the show. Yes, I support Dip Pacifica. Not What He Seems. Put that up there, man. That was freaking intense as a kid. And you can put Tale of Two Stands up there, too. Tale of Two Stands and Not What He Seems is when I was, here's the thing. With Gravity Falls for almost the entirety of season 1, I was a fan of the show. I loved it. This, I don't know if you count it as a two-parter. It was when I became fully into it. Like, I was deep into it at this point. These two episodes made me go, like, full-on in now. I was full-on, like, in to the Gravity Falls fandom at that point. We have Dungeons, Dungeons, and More Dungeons, which is a nice, fun episode. We can put Dungeons, Dungeons, and More Dungeons right there with Weird Al. I had no idea it was Weird Al at first voicing Probabilitor. Stanchurian Candidate. This is another episode I rewatch quite a lot. It's just fun. Gideon Returns, of course, which was very hyped for me. Like, going on YouTube and finding like the little clip that was like available of Gideon's return with his dad. That was like huge for me. I was like, oh my god, he's back in the episode. So I was really hyped for that. The Last Mabelcorn, very important episode because it reveals the history between Ford and Bill. Very good. This episode can go in F tier. Hate this episode. Roadside Attraction. I think this is the episode that is unanimously agreed on by everyone as just being the bad episode. Like, it's just a bad episode. The whole thing with Dipper and Candy, and it's just, it was awful. It was awful. The Candy Dipper love thing came out of nowhere, and I just didn't like it. Dipper and Mabel vs. the Future can go right there. It's not an episode I rewatch because it's quite depressing. It is a quite depressing episode, so I don't rewatch it a lot. But, you know, it is a good episode. And then we got the Weirdmageddon 3-parter, which, I mean, let's be honest here, guys. Is there a question about where these 3 episodes are going? Put all 3 Weirdmageddon 3-parter all up there. I remember watching Weirdmageddon Part 3. It was, I believe, a Thursday, and I was in grade 6, and I was talking to my friend at school, and I'm like, dude, the Gravity Falls finale is today. And he's like, I know, man. Oh my god. And we were just talking about it all day. Like, what do you think could happen? Maybe this could happen, this could happen. All day at school, we're just talking about the Gravity Falls finale. And then I went home, booked it home, well, as fast as you can in the car, got home, and I dropped everything. And I'm like, I'm watching the finale before I do anything. I had homework that day too, but I'm like, I'm watching the finale before I do anything because I'm not going to focus. I'm not going to focus on homework. I'm not going to focus on anything until I watch the finale of this episode, of this show. And man, was it a great episode. Really great episode. And I was so sad when it ended. But man, Gravity Falls. Gravity Falls is one of those special shows that works for both adults and kids. And there's a reason why 10 years later we still love it. And I still love it. And I will forever love Gravity Falls. It meant so much to me. And will always have a special place in my heart. And I thank Alex Hirsch for creating it. And that's where I'm going to leave it. Let me know what your guys' favorite episode of Gravity Falls was in the comments down below. And what your least favorite episode was. And yeah, I will see you all next time.